Hello out there, how are all of you guys doing? Welcome back, of course, to Rule of Two Review. And today I actually get to talk about one of my all-time favorite games. So what we're talking about today, very randomly, is the game Eternal Darkness, known as Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem, released for the GameCube in, I want to say, 2002. A lot of you probably already know the news that's been happening the last day or so. Apparently, Nintendo has officially refiled to renew the trademark for Eternal Darkness. The news has been making the rounds the last day or so. It got me and a lot of people really excited, because for those of us who played that game when it was brand new on the GameCube way back, almost 15 years ago now, which is crazy to think about, we know how great that game was, especially if you're a horror fan or if you appreciate the more literary works of folks such as Edgar Allan Poe, which the game drew deep inspiration from, and it didn't hide that fact at all. Poe is even quoted in the very beginning of the game before the title screen shows up. So anyway, the long and the short of it is, with this refiling of the trademark from Nintendo, it appears as though Nintendo might be planning on doing something with the name or the brand of Eternal Darkness sometime soon. Now, the situation is a little bit unique because that first game was, of course, created by Silicon Knights. That was pretty prevalent earlier on in the 2000s, in the beginning of the century. And Dennis Dyack, who I believe founded or was running Silicon Knights at that time, is actually becoming more relevant on YouTube nowadays. He does have a channel called the Quantum Tunnel, I want to say. I am subscribed to it. They put out some pretty interesting content. He's done some podcasts and stuff with like Super Metal Dave over the past year. Really interesting stuff that they've talked about. And I think it's interesting that this game is now getting a renewed trademark from Nintendo. And we do know that even though Silicon Knights, to my knowledge, isn't really existing anymore, but Dennis Dyack, of course, is still busy. Now, I don't know, of course, if they would have anything to do with this project. Maybe Dennis does or does not. Maybe Silicon Knights is going to be resurrected. Or maybe based on who still owns the actual franchise or property, I should say, of Eternal Darkness, someone else entirely would be working on it. I am no pro in this field, so all of that legal mumbo-jumbo and who owns what and what's going on with Silicon Knights and the Eternal Darkness name, I don't really know, and I don't even know how much of that stuff is public right now. It's entirely possible that most of that stuff is meant to not be public, hence why I don't even know it. But the long and the short of it is, the first game was developed by Silicon Knights. As far as we know, Silicon Knights is not active or doing anything now. So what does it mean for the renewed trademark, and what could happen with the title of Eternal Darkness? So according to the article that I read on My Nintendo, which if I can remember, I want to link below so you guys can follow and read it if you haven't, they mentioned that this trademark renewing is different than what Nintendo did a few years ago when they renewed the Eternal Darkness trademark. And this one is filed under what's known as a 1B, and apparently all the legal mumbo-jumbo under a 1B trademark apparently states that that is an intent of use, or an intent to use trademark filing. And initially, when you just look at that phrasing, that gets pretty exciting, because it means Nintendo intends to use the trademark. Or would Nintendo Nintend to use? That's a terrible pun. Forget I even said that. But still, the point stands. Does this mean that Nintendo actually has to do something with the name of the brand of Eternal Darkness if in fact they're renewing this trademark? Now, I'm going to bring this back a second and just talk about the fact that the game is wonderful. I am a horror genre fan. I love horror novels. I love horror film. My girlfriend and I, we watch a ton of scary movies all the time. And I love horror games. Two of my all-time favorite franchises, Resident Evil and Silent Hill. And there are some other fantastic gems thrown in there as well. Just really big fans of that kind of atmosphere that the scary genre puts out. Eternal Darkness was a great example as we were beginning that sixth generation of what we were starting to become capable of in the horror arena in video games. And it's a really unique game. There is no other game like it. Very famous for the sanity meter thing. It also you also travel through time playing as different members of like the Roivas family, and you're using different magic elements, and you can play through it 3 different ways to get like the ultimate ending. Stuff that was all kind of new and experimental in 2002, in the very beginning, the first couple of years of the 6th generation. Really, really good stuff. So the prospect of it continuing or coming back, people have talked about it for years, and now it seems like maybe something is going to happen. The other kind of weird and messy part to this scenario is a couple of years ago, there was a spiritual successor that Dennis Dyack, and I don't remember what team he was running at this time, a couple of years ago, they tried a crowdfunding campaign for a spiritual successor called Shadow of the Eternals, which was so exciting, and I was like, oh my god, we're going to get this back. It was going to be a Wii U and PC exclusive, and it was going to release episodically. That wasn't my ideal thing. I would have rather just had a straight-up sequel release and like a retail copy. But just the fact that we were maybe going to get anything got me super jazzed and really pumped. But it unfortunately didn't, the crowdfunding campaign, I should say, did not do very well, so it ended up not getting funded. So now here we sit. That's all the updates I think I can get us up to this point based on my knowledge as a fan of the first game. That gets us to this point where now all of a sudden this information about Nintendo renewing the trademark has become public knowledge. So what does all of this mean? Well, obviously we don't know 100% for sure, but I have three theories. Really, there's three possibilities of what I think this could really mean. One, they're going to be releasing the first original GameCube release as it exists on the Virtual Console, probably for the Nintendo Switch. I mean, definitely for the Nintendo Switch. They're going to re-release on the Virtual Console Eternal Darkness. That could potentially even be confirming that the purported GameCube Virtual Console that we all want might actually be existing on the Nintendo Switch. So not only does that confirm the game potentially getting re-released, which is very exciting, but it also could be confirming that Virtual Console, the GameCube stuff, and that's very exciting for all of us. People have been wanting that for a very long time, and it's sort of been rumored over the last month. The other thing that it could mean is a remaster of the first game. Something else that people were talking about a couple of years ago, and that conversation kind of died off. We do live in the remaster culture nowadays. There's been talks, even on the Nintendo side, I've talked about it as well. People have talked about and rumored and theorized about even just last generation Wii U games getting ported or remastered on the Nintendo Switch. Nintendo even remastered 2 Zelda games, Twilight Princess and the Wind Waker for the Wii U. So Nintendo isn't completely above remastering some games, and especially older games from previous generations that could really potentially benefit from a brand new updated version of said game. So Eternal Darkness, to me, when I think about the process, I don't love remasters, but there are the occasional remaster that I do get excited for and appreciate and enjoy. And when I think about Eternal Darkness getting remastered on the Nintendo Switch, that blows my mind. I mean, I would absolutely love to see what they would do with it. I would love to see the updated visuals, but I would like to see if they could tweak the storytelling and the gameplay mechanics, maybe lengthen it, add in new content that wasn't initially there. I mean, there's a plethora of things that could potentially be added to that brilliant and revolutionary game. Now coming up on 15 years old, I think that there's a really great opportunity there. Not to mention the benefit of introducing it to all the younger players who either weren't alive when that game came out, which is crazy and makes me feel really old, or just were too young or never had the opportunity to play it. It's a great game for the horror genre, and everyone should definitely experience this game. And the third and final and fairly obvious option is a sequel. Does this mean that the actual sequel that we've all been wanting and talking about for years might actually be coming with this renewed trademark from Nintendo? And if so, it seems like it would definitely be exclusive. I mean, the fact that Nintendo is the one renewing it means that the license in the game is still remaining a Nintendo property or a Nintendo entity, at least for now. Because again, it was a third-party game. It wasn't as far as I know, it wasn't owned by Nintendo. It was owned by Silicon Knights. They developed it. Nintendo just published it, so it released on the GameCube. But this to me tells me that if in fact it's the series is planning on continuing to exist, that it would probably still be exclusive to Nintendo. And although I don't really need that to happen, I sure would love it. It would just be another boon for Nintendo. The first game released exclusively on a Nintendo console, so I love to see this idea continuing to be exclusive. And like I said, it would be great for Nintendo, and I do want to see that. With the Switch just right around the corner, I really want to know that as much exclusive, awesome content, first or third party, that can exist for the Switch will exist. And this would just be a really, really great one. The sequel conversation is a little bit weirder, though, because if it's a sequel, is it a resurrected version of Shadow of the Eternals from a few years ago? Or would it be something completely brand new? Would Dennis Dyack and his team be working on this title? Or would it be somebody completely different and maybe those folks would not be involved? I would love to see Dennis return to it because it was kind of his baby from what I understand. It's an amazing game, and I mean, Silicon Knights was a great company for the couple of games they made back in the day. Twin Snakes was the other really excellent game remaster for the GameCube that I thought was really great that Silicon Knights did. So, at the end of the day, I just wanted to gush about the first game, the only game I should say, it's not the first yet, Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, the Nintendo GameCube, 2002, so good. So scary, so cerebral, so thought-provoking, all this literary influence. I mean, there's just so many cool things happening there. Kind of a wonky control scheme, but again, at the time, it didn't matter. And it was just all about that sanity meter and the crazy, wacky effects that the game played on you. And that's, by the way, if they did remaster that game, a whole nother thing that they could update are the sanity effects. I mean, there's a great opportunity to do some amazing stuff there and really mess with players' emotions as they play through that game. So at the end of the day, what's happening with this? Who knows? Maybe even nothing. Let's be honest, maybe nothing happens from this. It really just could be something that Nintendo's holding on to for now, and there's no actual legitimate plans to do anything currently. But I feel like it means something. Maybe it's just the hopeful gamer in me and the fan of the first game in me, but I just want to believe it means something. It just seems like either it's a virtual console release, it's a remaster, or it's a sequel. I mean, how could it not be one of those three? I can't imagine this would happen, and then it would just Eternal Darkness would just sit there for the next 5 years and we would never hear from it again. It just doesn't make sense to me. So hopefully that's what's going on. I want to hear what you guys have to say about this. Who out there among you has played the first game, both when it was brand new or even since, in the last couple of years, maybe you just went back and revisited this game. Did you like this game? Do you get excited at the prospect of a remaster or a sequel? I mean, my preference here is a sequel for what it's worth, but I would still love one of the other two. Well, honestly, the virtual console release doesn't do much for me because I still own my copy in the GameCube. Very rare and hard to find. I'm proud that I still have that, so I don't really need the virtual console release. It would be great if it released for other people, and for Nintendo, I would like to see it happen, but for me, I don't care because I have it. I would like a remaster or a sequel. But what would you like? What do you feel about what's going on? What do you think this means? And yeah, that's it, man. Eternal Darkness, great game. Everyone, please check it out. Let's see what happens with this trademark. Maybe we get something announced next month from Nintendo. Maybe something's going to show up in January. How cool would that be? So, for now, it's Christmas Eve today, so I will say happy Christmas Eve to all of you out there who do celebrate the holiday. It's a holiday weekend anyway, so it's a good time no matter what you celebrate or who you are. Feels pretty good. Hopefully everyone has some nice time off of work. I should, by the way, have some really exciting and excellent Nintendo-related news, as I said and kind of teased on Twitter yesterday. Not anything I feel prepared to talk about just yet, but I have some really excellent, awesome, exciting things cooking on the Nintendo camp, and with any luck, in the next couple of days, I might be able to kind of share with you guys what this news is. So, stay tuned and look forward to that. It's going to be a really exciting time. It is just a really exciting time in gaming for Nintendo, for everything, and for Eternal Darkness. Oh my God, please bring this game back. And that's it for today, guys. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in. This is Rob of Rule of Two Review, and I will catch you all next time on another video.